Handle it yourself. Those were the only words my mother bothered to leave me after abandoning everything we'd built together for 22 years. I stood there on the cracked driveway in Sacramento, California, staring at cardboard boxes that contained my entire life, watching strangers peer through what used to be my bedroom window. My name is Danielle Price, and I was 22 the day my parents decided I wasn't part of their story anymore. No warning, no explanation. Just a sold sign swinging in the hot summer wind, like a cruel joke. I had spent 4 sleepless nights finishing my final exams, dreaming of coming home to pancakes, hugs, and laughter. Instead, my welcome home was silence. And when I finally dialed my mom's number, she answered with a single cold line. Handle it. But I had no idea what I was about to uncover. Handle it yourself. That's all she said. No explanation, no apology. Just 3 words that sliced through me harder than any exam stress or sleepless night ever had. I had just finished my 3rd year at Northwestern University. Finals had been brutal. 3 all-nighters in a row, fueled by energy drinks and sheer willpower. But the thought of coming home to my own bed, to my parents, to normalcy, that had kept me alive. When my Greyhound pulled into Sacramento, I dragged my suitcase down the familiar street, already imagining Dad flipping pancakes like he always did on Sundays. But when I turned the corner, froze. The house was gone. Well, not literally gone, but it might as well have been. A giant red sold sign stabbed into the front yard. The windows were bare. The curtains I grew up with, Mom's floral prints, were gone. And on the cracked driveway, under the cruel August sun, sat a pyramid of cardboard boxes. My boxes, labeled in my mom's handwriting. For a second I thought I had the wrong street, wrong house, wrong nightmare. But then I saw it. My purple childhood bike, rusted and leaning against the stack. My framed debate trophy. My books, duct-taped in crooked piles. My phone buzzed. Mom's name lit the screen. My heart leapt. Maybe this was all some mistake. Mom! My voice cracked. Silence. Then her sigh. Cold. Ota. Handle it. And she hung up. I dropped to my knees on the driveway, hands shaking. Neighbors peeked from their windows, pretending not to watch. A car slowed down, someone whispering, "Isn't that the Price girl?" I wanted to scream. Instead, I just sat there, staring at a life reduced to cardboard. That night, I dragged the boxes into a friend's borrowed pickup and crashed in a cheap motel. I couldn't cry. I couldn't sleep. I just kept hearing her voice. Handle it. By morning I had decided I would box away my parents the same way they boxed away me. No calls. No begging for answers. Just silence. But as I taped one of the boxes shut, my hand brushed against something heavy at the bottom. Heavier than books. Heavier than clothes. It was an envelope. Sealed. And on the front, scrawled in Dad's sharp handwriting, one word. Confidential. Froze. Why would they leave this behind? I almost threw it away. Almost. But something in me, curiosity, anger, maybe survival, made me tear it open. And what I read made me realize this nightmare was only beginning. I turned the envelope over in my hands, my pulse thudding in my ears. Dad's handwriting was sharp, hurried, the kind he only used when something was serious. For a moment I thought maybe it was meant for me. A secret letter of comfort, an explanation, an apology. Some shred of humanity after everything they had just done. But when I slid my finger under the seal and opened it, I realized quickly. It wasn't meant for me at all. Inside was a stack of papers. Old documents, crumpled receipts, and legal forms with signatures I didn't recognize. Mortgage deeds, loan agreements, even a foreclosure notice, dated weeks before I came home. And right on top, in bold letters, notice of default. My chest tightened. My parents hadn't sold the house out of choice. They had lost it. But then something worse hit me. A student loan document with my name on it. I sat there on the motel bed, staring at the page. It said I'd taken out a $65,000 private loan my sophomore year. So, I hadn't. I'd never signed anything like that. My tuition had been paid through a scholarship and part-time jobs. I never needed a loan. But there it was. Name. My social security number. My signature. Only it wasn't mine. I pressed my fingers to the paper. My hand shook. My parents had done this. They'd used my identity to take out loans. And when the collectors came knocking, they didn't just run. They left me to deal with the fallout. I tried to call my dad. Straight to voicemail. I texted him. What is this? Why is my name on a loan I never signed? No answer. Hours passed. The motel TV buzzed in the background, some game show I couldn't focus on. My phone finally vibrated. A single message from Mom. Handle it. We had no choice. No choice. I wanted to scream, to drive out into the night until the gas ran dry. But then another thought struck me. If they left these papers behind, what else did they leave? I tore through the rest of the boxes like a thief in my own life. Clothes, yearbooks, birthday cards. Then, at the bottom of the last box, I found another envelope. This one smaller, heavier. No words on the outside. Just taped shut. I ripped it open. A set of keys clattered onto the motel bedspread. 3 keys, all different sizes. Attached to a tag with an address scrawled on it. Galleria Storage Unit 42B. My mouth went dry. Why would they leave me this? Was it a mistake? Or was it intentional? I couldn't sleep that night. My mind raced with possibilities. A hidden stash of money. More debt. More lies. By morning I made up my mind. I borrowed my friend's truck again and drove across town to the Galleria storage complex. The place was massive. Rows of blue metal doors stretching out like a graveyard of forgotten lives. I found Unit 42B. My hand trembled as I slid the first key into the lock. It turned with a loud click that echoed in the quiet hall. The door creaked open, and a smell of dust and old paper wafted out. First I thought it was empty. Just shadows and cobwebs. But as my eyes adjusted, I saw them. Stacks of boxes. Dozens of them. Each one neatly labeled in Dad's handwriting. Not just random junk. These were files. Folders. Whole cabinets worth of papers shoved into cardboard. I dragged one box out and opened it. Inside bank statements. Years of them. But they weren't my parents' accounts. They were under different names. Dozens of aliases. Fake identities. Money moving in and out, sometimes thousands at a time. My skin crawled. My parents weren't just broke. They weren't just irresponsible. They were running something. Fraud. I flipped open another folder. It had photocopies of driver's licenses, passports, checks. All fake. My parents had been living a double life. And the worst part. One folder was labeled with my name. I opened it and froze. Inside was a fresh set of documents. New loans, new accounts. All under me. They hadn't just abandoned me. They'd set me up as their escape plan. A noise echoed down the hallway. A step. Heavy, deliberate. I shoved the papers back into the box, my heart hammering. The steps grew louder. Closer. I turned toward the open door of the unit, just in time to see a man in a black suit stop in the doorway. His eyes landed on the papers in my hands. And then he smiled. The man in the doorway didn't belong in a dusty storage unit. He was too polished. Crisp black suit. Shiny shoes that squeaked against the concrete floor. His hair slicked back like he stepped out of a courtroom drama. But it wasn't his appearance that froze me. It was his smile. Patient. Like he'd been expecting me. Danielle Price, he said, rolling my name slowly, savoring it. My throat tightened. Who are you? He stepped inside, shutting the unit door behind him with a metallic clang. The dim light flickered above us. I represent certain interested parties. His voice was smooth, professional. Your parents owed a great deal of money. To people who don't appreciate being forgotten. I've been following the trail they left behind. Imagine my surprise to find you here, holding their records. I shoved the papers back into the box, my hands trembling. I don't know what this is. I don't want any part of it. His smile widened. That's unfortunate. Because Miss Price, your name is on everything. I felt the blood drain from my face. He walked toward me, slow and deliberate, tapping the side of the box with one finger. Fraudulent loans. Fake accounts. All tied neatly to your identity. Clever of them, really. If they vanish, who do the wolves chase? My stomach churned. You're lying. He reached into his jacket. For a split second I thought he was pulling out a gun. Instead he produced a folder. He flipped it open and held up a page. Another loan agreement. Name. My social security. My forged signature. This one's from last month, he said. $60,000. Defaulted already. They used you as a front. And now the creditors want their money. I staggered back against the wall of boxes. The air felt thick, suffocating. I didn't sign anything. I didn't even know about this until yesterday. He closed the folder with a snap. Doesn't matter what you knew. Paperwork doesn't care about feelings. Banks don't care about your tears. As far as the system's concerned, you are guilty. I shook my head violently. No, I won't take the fall for them. I'll fight this. He tilted his head. Fight? With what money? What lawyer? You're broke. Loan. Your parents made sure of that. His words cut deep because they were true. But then his tone softened. Almost kind. There is another option. Help us find them. Give us what you know. Where they went. Who they spoke to. You deliver them and maybe we erase your debt. I swallowed hard. My parents had abandoned me. Lied to me. Stolen from me. But the thought of handing them over to these people. I don't know where they are, I whispered. He studied me for a long, tense moment. Then he slipped a card into the top of the box. You will. And when you do, call me. He turned and walked out, his shoes echoing down the hall. I collapsed onto the cold floor the second the door shut. My entire body shook. They hadn't just left me with heartbreak. They'd left me with enemies. That night I couldn't stop replaying his words. Your name is on everything. I tried to sleep, but the nightmares were worse than reality. Men in suits knocking on my door. Police sirens. Prison bars. By morning I knew I had two choices. Run like my parents or fight. I gathered the folders from the storage unit, stuffing them into the back of the truck. If these papers held the truth about what my parents had done, then maybe, just maybe, I could use them to prove my innocence. But as I drove back toward the motel, a thought struck me. If the man in the suit found me this easily, what about the authorities? Were they already watching me? My question was answered the moment I pulled into the parking lot. Two unmarked cars sat out front. Dark windows. Engines idling. I parked around the corner, heart pounding, and crept closer on foot. The motel clerk stood at the counter, looking nervous. One of the men showed him a badge. BI. My blood ran cold. The man leaned closer, sliding a photo across the counter. From where I stood, I didn't need to see it clearly. I knew whose face was printed on that paper. The air outside the motel felt heavier than the Sacramento heat. My chest tightened as I watched the FBI agents through the glass doors. One flipped a badge open. The other scribbled notes while the motel clerk nodded nervously. I knew I had minutes. Maybe seconds. I ducked back behind the corner, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might give me away. Every instinct screamed at me to run. But where? My parents had left me with nothing. No money. No allies. Just boxes of lies. I pulled the key from my pocket. Unit 42B. The storage unit was full of answers, but also full of traps. If the FBI got there first, they'd pin it all on me. I forced myself to breathe. Think. Danielle. Don't panic. Sliding into the driver's seat of the truck, I ducked low and turned the key. The engine sputtered to life louder than I wanted. I pulled away slowly, avoiding the agent's line of sight. By the time I hit the highway, sweat slicked my palms. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something in me pressed answer. Danielle Price. The voice was sharp, professional. Not the man in the suit. Woman. This is Agent Collins with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We'd like to speak with you. Voluntarily if possible. You're not under arrest yet. But if you keep running that will change. My throat went dry. I haven't done anything wrong. Then you have nothing to fear, she said, her tone calm but firm. We know your parents used your identity. We also know you've been to their storage unit. That makes you a witness or an accomplice. Which one do you want to be? Froze. They already knew. I don't know where my parents are, I whispered. That's fine, Agent Collins replied. But we need the documents. All of them. If you cooperate, we can protect you. If you don't, her voice hardened, then the system will treat you as guilty. The call clicked off. I sat in silence, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. The FBI wanted the papers. The debt collectors wanted the papers. And in the middle of it all was me. That night, I drove to the outskirts of town and parked in an abandoned lot. I spread the folders across the truck seat, reading until my eyes blurred. Page after page revealed just how deep my parents had gone. Fake accounts across 3 states. Offshore transfers. Credit lines opened in names of cousins, neighbors. Even my childhood best friend. They hadn't just ruined me. They'd ruined anyone close enough to touch. Felt sick. But then, buried in the pile, I found something strange. A folder labeled Belmont. Inside were property records for a small apartment complex. Unlike the other forged accounts, this one was legitimate. The deed listed one owner. Me. My breath caught. I had never heard of this place. But the address, the signatures all checked out. My parents had somehow purchased it under my name. Maybe to hide money. Maybe as a fallback. For the first time in days, a flicker of hope sparked inside me. If I could prove this was real, if I could show it wasn't part of the fraud, then maybe I had leverage. Maybe I could stop being the victim. But before that thought could settle, headlights swept across the lot. Car slowed, then parked behind me. I shoved the papers into a bag and slid down in the seat. My heart thudded like a drum. The car door opened. Footsteps crunched against gravel. And then a knock on my window. Flinch. Through the glass I saw him. Not the FBI. Not a stranger. But my dad. His hair was longer, his face thinner, but those eyes, I'd know them anywhere. Danielle, he whispered through the glass. Please. Open the door. We need to talk. I froze, staring through the smudged glass at the man who was supposed to be my protector, my anchor. Instead, he was a ghost wearing my father's face. Danielle, he whispered again, his breath fogging the window. It's not what you think. Every instinct screamed at me to hit the gas and never look back. But my hand betrayed me, unlocking the door with a sharp click. He slid into the passenger seat, shutting the door quietly, like we were conspirators meeting in secret. Up close, he looked older. Hair streaked with gray, deep lines etched into his face. His once proud shoulders slumped. I didn't feel pity, only rage. What did you do to me? My voice cracked, but my hands were steady on the steering wheel. You stole my future. You used my name. You left me on a driveway like trash. He flinched like the words cut deeper than I intended. We didn't have a choice. Snap. Stop saying that. That's all Mom ever says. We had no choice. You always had a choice. You chose yourselves. His eyes dropped to the bag of papers between us. You've seen them. I shoved it against his chest. I've seen enough to know I could go to prison because of you. He held the bag like it was a bomb. His jaw clenched. Danielle, listen. You don't understand. We weren't just hiding from the banks. We were hiding from people far worse. I laughed bitterly. Oh, let me guess. The mysterious people who came to my motel room in a black suit. The ones who smiled at me while telling me I was guilty. His head snapped toward me. Panic flickered in his eyes. You talked to them. They found me. Shot back. Just like the FBI. Do you realize what you've done? I'm caught between loan sharks and federal agents, Dad. And you're worried about me opening the wrong box. He gripped the dashboard, his knuckles pale. We were supposed to protect you. That's why we left you out of it. Protect me? My laugh was hollow. You abandoned me. That's not protection. That's cowardice. For a moment, silence swallowed us. Only the hum of a distant freeway filled the air. Finally he spoke softer now. We got in deep. Too deep. Started with small things, credit cards, fake accounts, easy money. Then it snowballed. Before we knew it, we owed people millions. They threatened us. Threatened you. If we didn't put assets in your name, they would have taken you. Used you as leverage. We thought, if you had nothing, if you hated us, maybe you'd be safe. His words hit me like ice water. So your plan was to destroy me so they wouldn't want me. My throat tightened. You didn't save me, Dad. You painted a target on my back. He looked broken. We had no other way. I wanted to scream, but exhaustion weighed heavier than anger now. I pressed my palms against my eyes. There was another way. You could have told me the truth. When I lowered my hands, he was staring at the bag again. They'll keep coming. The feds, the creditors. They won't stop until they've squeezed every drop out of you. But there's something you found. The Belmont file, right? My stomach dropped. How do you know I found that? Because, he whispered, that's the only card we have left. That property, it's clean. Untouched. They don't know about it. If you hold on to it, you can fight back. But if they get it, you'll lose everything. I searched his face for lies. And what about you? You want me to protect it for you? Or are you planning to steal that from me too? He shook his head slowly. It's yours, Danielle. Always was. I wanted you to have something. Something real. But you can't do it alone. They'll crush you. I felt the heat of tears sting my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I've been alone for 2 years. Don't pretend you're here to help me now. Before he could answer, headlights swept across the lot again. Second car pulled in, black and silent. Dad stiffened, his hand tightening on the door handle. It's them. I glanced at the car. 2 figures stepped out, one in a suit, the other holding something glinting under the sodium lights. Not FBI. Not neighbors. Debt collectors. My dad's voice shook. We have to run. But for the first time since this nightmare began, I didn't feel like running. I tightened my grip on the wheel. No, Dad. We don't run. We fight. The figures stepped closer, shadows stretching long across the gravel. My pulse thundered in my ears, but this time I refused to freeze. Dad whispered urgently, "We have to go. Now." I turned to him, jaw clenched. "I've been running since the day you left me on that driveway. No more." The man in the suit, the same one from the storage unit, stopped a few feet away. His smile returned, sharp as a blade. The other man loomed behind him, gripping a metal pipe. "Danielle," the suit said smoothly. "I told you you'd call me. Didn't expect to see your father here." His eyes slid to Dad. "You cost us a lot of time and money." Dad stepped in front of me, voice shaking. "She doesn't know anything. Leave her out of this." The suit chuckled. "Doesn't know anything. She's sitting on the Belmont property. Clean deed. Real value. And it's in her name. That makes her our business." My stomach lurched. So they knew. But then clarity struck. This was my leverage. I squared my shoulders. "You can threaten me all you want, but that property is legal. It's mine. If anything happens to me, it'll go straight to the authorities. You won't see a cent." The suit's smile faltered. Just slightly, but I saw it. Behind me, Dad muttered, "Danielle." Like he couldn't believe I was standing up to them. The man leaned closer, lowering his voice. "You're clever. I'll give you that. But the FBI won't protect you forever. They want the same thing we do, proof. Paper. That property is the key. Without it, you're just another debt on a long list." I swallowed hard but didn't look away. Then I'll play both sides. Maybe the FBI takes interest in what's in those files. Maybe they decide to crush you first. His jaw tightened. The moment stretched, tension thick enough to choke. Finally he raised his hand. The man with the pipe lowered it. "We'll be in touch," the suit said coldly. Then they turned, walking back to the car. The engine roared, and they disappeared into the night. I slumped against the seat, adrenaline flooding out of me. Dad sat silently, staring at the ground. "You don't get it, do you?" I said quietly. "I don't need you anymore. You left me to drown and somehow I learned to swim. This time, I'm not going under." For the first time his eyes softened. Regret flickered there. "You're stronger than I ever was." I didn't answer. I started the engine and drove toward Belmont. The building wasn't much. An old brick complex on the edge of downtown, paint peeling, windows barred. But it was real. Proof that my life wasn't just forged signatures and fraudulent debt. As I held the deed in my hands, something shifted inside me. For years I had been the victim, the abandoned child, the scapegoat. But now I had something worth fighting for. And I wasn't going to let anyone take it from me. The Belmont property became my anchor, my shield. I hired a lawyer with the little savings I had, offering the deed as collateral. When he flipped through the files from the storage unit, his eyebrows shot up. "Danielle," he said slowly, "this isn't just fraud. This is federal-level crime. If we hand this to the FBI voluntarily, you'll stop being their suspect. You'll be their witness." The word witness felt like a lifeline. So, for the first time, I didn't run. I walked into the FBI office with my head high, the files clutched to my chest. Agent Collins studied me from across the table. "You've been busy," she said. "I want the truth on record," I replied, my voice steady. "Everything my parents did. Every account. Every alias. Every stolen dollar. I'm not covering for them anymore." Collins leaned forward. "If you testify, we can clear your name. But you need to understand the people they owed won't stop. You'll have enemies." I met her gaze. "I've had enemies since the day they left me on that driveway. The difference is now I'm ready." The trial came months later. My parents were dragged in, thinner, grayer, but still defiant. I sat across the courtroom, clutching the Belmont deed like a talisman. Mom's eyes met mine for the first time in years. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to speak. But when the judge asked her to confirm the forged loans, she turned away. Dad, though, broke. On the stand, voice shaking, he admitted everything. The fraud, the debts, the betrayal. I should have felt satisfaction. Instead, I felt free. When the verdict was read, guilty on multiple counts, I didn't cry. I didn't cheer. I just breathed deeply like I hadn't in years. After court, Collins handed me back the Belmont deed. "It's yours, untainted. You can build a life from this, Danielle." For the first time, the word life didn't feel impossible. 2 years earlier, I was a girl abandoned on a driveway, holding cardboard boxes of memories. Now I was a woman standing on solid ground, my ground. I cut contact with my parents for good. No more calls. No more explanations. Their choices were theirs. My future was mine. And every time I unlocked the Belmont apartment complex, walked through its worn halls, and heard tenants greet me with a smile, I felt stronger. Because I hadn't just survived their betrayal. I had turned it into the foundation of my freedom.